Okay, people of 7 here. We are now at 1 inch. Actually, it's 1.25 inches, but hey, I had to get it down to the 90 stitches. Overshot it and decreased to 81, and then it had to increase to get 90. So, yeah. But that means it's time to do the last 16 rows. Those decreases are as follows. Round 1, not row 1, round 1, star, slip, slip, knit, knit 14, knit 2 together, repeat from the star, row 2 to 4, knit, row 5, slip, slip, knit, which is a decrease leaning to the left, knit 12, and then knit 2 together. That's a decrease leaning to the right. Okay, row 6 to 7, knit, row 8, slip, slip, knit, knit 8, 10, knit 2 together, and then row 10 is 8, 6, and 4 with the slip, slip, knit, and the knit 2 together on both sides of those, starting from the star. So basically, starting from the star, that means you're going to do the entire increase, or decrease rather, on this one needle. Then the next one will be on this needle. Then the next one will be on this needle, and this needle, and this needle, until you get back to the first needle. And it's going to continue like that for 16 rows. The last decrease is slip, slip, knit, knit 2 together, and then on every needle. And then you basically feed all the stitches into a strand, pull it, put it on the inside of the hat, and then stitch it up. Well, tie it off basically, because there'll be nothing to stitch. It'll be the top of the hat, literally. Okay. So, let's aim you down to where you can see what tie I'm doing. Now, I always take this first needle and put it under the work, so that way it doesn't get in my way while I'm knitting on top of the work, if that makes sense. Oh, also, because there will be a gap in between this needle and this needle when it's time for a connection, so always start closing that up, so that way you don't have to worry about it. But I'm going to start wrong. We start with slip, slip, knit. So slip, slip, come on off of that needle, knit, never fails. When I want you to see what I'm doing, it's like my hands get self-conscious and then I mess that up. Okay, then knit 14. Yeah, come off of there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, leaves me with 2 on the needle. Knit those 2 together. Yeah. Center all the stitches in the center of the needle, turn the needle, repeat. Under this needle, flip, slip, knit. Well, hold on, let me get all the strands of this terry yarn together. And snug as you need to, because it has to be close to that needle. Then knit 2 together. So that repeat is done. Now we do the same thing with this needle. It goes real quick on double pointed needles once you get started, which means this should only take me 30 minutes to, well, maybe not even 30 minutes. I knit fast, but yeah. If you're new to this, just anticipate it taking you an hour to do the top of the cap decreases. Or the rounds, rather. And seeing how several of the stitches are just knit across, knit across, knit across without decreasing, that will save you some time. I dropped the needle. Hold on. I actually got it tangled with the other needle for a second. Did I get both of those stitches in there? Yes, I did. Okay, cool. Get that centered on that needle. Also, the places where I had to increase shows up as a little teeny opening in the work. Well, like that. But no one's going to notice that. So don't worry about it. But if it really bothers you, you can always go, stitch it up or whatever on the inside, or put a decal there or butterfly or whatever. Oh, and that's another thing. If you make this with a wool yarn, you can literally felt it close. But if you do felt it, felting removes a lot of the bulk, which means it'll shrink. So do it over a blockhead or something that's the size that you need it to be, so that way it don't shrink to the point where you can't fit it on your head, because it kind of defeats the purpose of making a hat you know will fit, if that makes sense. Okay. So basically you work to the last 2 stitches and knit those 2 stitches together. center the needle, go to the next needle. Scoot it forward if you needed to. Slip, slip, knit. The first 2 stitches, work across to the last 2 stitches and knit those 2 stitches together. That's an easier way of saying slip, slip, knit, work 14, slip, slip, knit, or knit 2 together rather. See, a lot of people look at that in pattern and go, wow, that's complicated, until they work it and go, oh. In other words, you're doing decreases on the last 2 stitches. Well, decreases on the first 2 stitches at the start, the last 2 stitches at the bottom, at the end rather. I really messed my speech up when I said that, but you get what I mean. Okay. I also took the time to wind my skin into a ball and put it in a bow, because the yarn kept tangling. I don't know, sometimes you get a skein of yarn that pulls out smoothly, and then in the middle there's some kind of issue that makes it just lump up like that. I don't get it, but yeah. Turning it into a ball fixes that problem. Let's snug that up. Okay. Scoot that up as I need it. And you'll notice the stitches are larger because I'm back to the proper size needle. So when you look at the very beginning, you notice those stitches are smaller. That's because it was on a smaller needle. But that kind of cinches up the gaps that would have been there if I had used a bigger needle. Okay, so the beginning needle is done. So now we go to round 2, which would be knit until round 4. So we're going to knit 2, well, knit row 2, knit row 3, knit row 4. So 3 rounds. Which will make this go quick because I don't have to stop to decrease. But I do have to keep going. Row 2, row 2, row 2, row 2. Then row 3, row 3, row 3, row 3. Because otherwise I'll get that mixed up. Especially when you're working in stockinette, which is knit every round or knit every row. If you don't keep track of it. I'm going to have to move the location of the ball because I keep getting tangled up in it. Yeah. There we go. Still on row 2, round 2. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, Pretend you didn't see that. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, this is not a decrease round, so continue on to the last two and then knit those, which would be easier if I didn't get tangled up with the other needle. And I think I'm gonna line this with a satin bonnet so it doesn't snag my hair because I have curly hair. So protect my curls. It'll be on the inside, nobody will see it, but I'll know it's there, especially when I use the hat and not have any snaggles in my hair. You can actually go on Amazon and buy a bonnet or a satin lined hat, and they'll put the cheapest hat in history on there, line it with a bonnet, and then charge you a literal fortune for it. Just go to the beauty store or Walgreens, pick up a satin bonnet. They cost like $4.99, and stitch it to the inside of whatever hat you want. I mean, don't pay $40 for a hat just because it's satin lined. That's how they get you. I mean, I could see if they were, lining it with actual silk, but the satin bonnet, those are cheap. And if you happen to sew, you already know you could pick up a remnant of satin fabric for not even $5 as a remnant and get more than enough to make 3 or 4 bonnets. So, yeah. That's how I got 3 of mine. I just got some remnant fabric and made them myself. Okay. Snug that up. Yarn's tearing. There we go. Oh. Nope, 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 nope. Go all the way into that stitch. Come on, there we go. Now part of the string is still, just gonna redo that stitch. There we go. Center the needle. Now, round 3. And I believe my coffee cup is empty. Yep. I'll get some more later. And when you get close to the other needle, it kind of gets tangled in your hand if you're not anticipating and adjusting accordingly. Snug up to that other needle and continue across round 3. And see here, if I knit tighter, it doesn't matter because it's on the correct size needle. So, yeah, it'll close up all those gaps in the stitches. Continuing round 3. Close the gap between those needles. Continue on. And I'm doing this in real time instead of trying to go slow. I figure you can always slow down the playback. Which is a hint someone gave me after watching the last video. I was saying you can always zoom it in. They're going, we can always speed it up. We can always slow it down. It's like, oh, okay, duh. I kind of knew that. I kind of forgot. Yeah. Okay. Starting needle. Oh. That's why you put this down so it doesn't get tangled up in your way. Snug. Round 4. 5, we go back to the decreases. But if you look at the edge, it'll look like it was already still gradually going into a star shape. It's almost like an optical illusion there. Because even where it's not decreased, the brain perceives it as, whoa, it went that way. That'll make sense when you see the finished product. Okay. Round 4 continues. Now, if you know what you're looking at, you can see how that's visually starting to get smaller. Continuing round 4. And when you're done shaping, then you have to take the last of the yarn and put it on the inside, flip it over, and then finish working. Because otherwise, you won't be able to after you get past the last row, because everything will be on the inside of work. If you put it on the outside of work, you're going to have to add a pom-pom, because you won't be able to get your hands through there, because, you know, there'll be nothing to close the gap. Instead of a tapestry needle, I usually use a crochet hook for that, but you'll see that as we get there. Round 4 continues. Scoot that closer to that other needle. Close the gap. Last round of round 4, or last needle of round 4. Interesting. It sounds like someone's shoveling snow outside, but there's no snow to shovel. It is almost 60 degrees outside. Well, almost 70 degrees outside. It was 63, 64, which means no snow allowed outside. So I want to know what's making that sound. Okay. Now we have approached round 5. But see how that's making that very pointed slant? That's what the SSKs were about. Oh, wait a minute. Got my needles impaled in part of the other part of the work. Okay. Now we're going to do a SSK, knit 12, knit 2 together. In other words, we're at row 5. We're going to decrease the first 2, knit across, decrease the last 2. Which is the easiest translation for that. And as long as you start with the correct number of stitches, then you can basically just work across to the last 2 stitches, decrease those, and continue on, and your pattern will still come out right because those are the correct numbers. Knit the last 2 together. Center my needle. Rotate the yarn to the next needle. Slip, slip, knit, knit across. Did I snug up the needle? Well, close enough. Get out of the way, you. Okay. Oh yeah, this is row 5, so I knit those 2 together. Actually, did that, there we go. So I wanted to have the consistency of the way I did the other ones. So even though that would have worked and would still be classified as knitting 2 together, I did the other ones that specific way, so I'll do this one that specific way and back at it. Yeah. Oh, let's move that needle out the way. Well, actually, that way. Slip, slip, knit, knit across to the last 2, then knit those 2 together, otherwise known as K2 tog. If you're looking at a pattern, that's what that means. Knit 2 together, center those stitches on that needle, rotate the needle, slip, slip, knit, snug, knit across, to the last 2, And there will come a time invariably that somebody go, is that the needle I started on? There's one way to tell. Look at the last 2 stitches on the row that you're on. If you don't see a decrease, that means that's not the needle you started on. So, yeah. See, the first stitches on that needle are decreases. On this needle, no decreases. That means I still got to do that particular decrease. That's also why I put a marker there. So that way I don't have to go, did I do the decrease at the start or the last? You know, this needle. And then we'll go to the next needle and start row 6 to 7, which would be straight knit. Okay. Oh, that's where I do the decrease. Knit 2 together. Come on, Kay, pay attention. There we go. Now we are at row 6 and 7, knit without a decrease, just knitting around 2 rows. So this will be row 6. Snuggle that needle closer to the other one. No gaps in my work that way. Center the needle, turn. Grab the larger needle so I can add it to the work. Oh, let's put that needle under. Okay. And then snug it close. Continuing row 6. Round 6 rather. closer. Continue on. Row 6 again, round 6. Okay. Technically it is still row, but rows tend to go back and forth over flat. When you're working around, you're supposed to say round, but it's the same thing. So if you want to say row, go ahead and say row. So this is still round 6. Uh-oh. This stitch didn't quite get completed, so let's finish that. Now we'll go ahead and knit that last stitch. There we go. Starting round 7. And the clock says 42 minutes and 29 seconds. At 60 minutes, the phone will automatically default the video as max, so I'll have to restart if I'm not finished by then. So, yeah. So we have 4 sides 8 double pointed needles and 2 sides 7 double pointed needles in play, because I didn't have 2 sets of size 8. So yeah, but the difference between 8 and 7 is so subtle that with this yarn you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Even the paperwork for the yarn says knit needle size 7 or 8, because it's going to make the same size stitch with it being a worsted weight yarn. I just do the size 7 a little looser and the size 8 tight, and I get the same stitch size. Or don't think about it and just work at it, and it still comes out right. So there's that. Okie dokie. Get out the way. Yes, I talk to my work in progress. As long as it doesn't answer back, that means I'm not crazy. Okay. Round 7. last needle of round 7, and I can see the decrease from last row, so I know I'm on the correct needle. Yep. And it's getting tighter, which is making it a little harder to knit. But by the time that gets to be annoying, you'll be finished. Trust me on that. We only got 7 rounds to go. Okay, well, 8 because it's 16 rows total, but you know what I mean. Okay, round 8 is slip, slip, knit, knit 10 across, knit 2 tack, 2 together. So slip, slip, knit. Well, snug up to the other needle though, so that way there's no gap in the work. Then across 10, knit 2 together, center the needle, turn to work, snug close to that other needle, slip, slip, knit, knit across 10, knit 2 together, without fighting the other needle preferably. Center the needle, slip, slip, knit, snug the yarn, knit across, knit those 2 together. Come on, stitches, cooperate with me, huh? There we go. It'll be row 10. right down to row 9. Let's peek in the book. Row 9 is knit. Okie dokie. It kind of helps to know what you're going to do before you do it. Yeah. Let's decrease this round. Slip, slip, knit, snug it close, work across. Now we're on row 9, which is knit and stockinette for the round. Snug that yarn close when you get to the next needle, so there's no gaps. Now you might notice I have to hold part of the other needle with the needle that I'm working with, because when it closes in like that, because you're reducing stitches, your hands kind of have no place to go while you're working, so you have to keep the other needle out your way, if that makes sense. Especially when you're doing an increase row. Continuing row 9, round 9. Let's turn that needle. Okay, cool. And generally, that's when my hands start cramping up. But I'm going to be a trooper and continue on. Because we got to get to round 10. Now, after round 10, let's see, round 12 and 14, there's a stitch in between, well, a knit in between. Yeah, when we get to round 14, that's when, and it just said maximum size reached. Told you. So apparently I hit the 1 hour mark on that too. But as I was saying, when you get to round 12, no, round 14, then there's no knit in between, it's just continuous. And for some reason I didn't write that on my little notes pattern, so I'll make sure I write it on the description when I post it. Okay. Okay. That was round 10, I believe. Hold on. Quick way to find out. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. No, that was round 8, and then we did row 9, so this will be round 10. And we're going to knit across 8. But first, slip, slip, knit, knit across 8, knit 2 together. Then slip, slip, knit. Get that out my way. Slip, slip, knit. Knit to the last 2 on the needle, and knit those 2 together, which will be 8 stitches. Let's get that out the way. Slip, slip, knit, knit across to the last 2, then knit those 2 together. And now you know why I marked the last row, so that way I don't just get knit happy and forget, oh, I got a decrease here. And oops, I'm supposed to knit completely across there. Okie dokie. Especially since when you get to a certain point in the decreases, they go so quick. If you're not paying attention, or if you don't have a marker, you'll mess that up. Trust me, I've done it before. Okay. Knit those 2 together. Get that other needle out the way. Okay, slip, slip, Okay, that takes us to round 11, which is a knit. And you'll notice that's slowly closing in that gap. I can literally put this on now and see how well it'll fit. We'll do that after row 11 here. Make sure I'm taking care of my lumbar. You know, it's the purpose of having a lumbar support chair. If you don't use it. Going on to row 12 after this. This is row 11 actually. Round 11. Friendly green marker reminds me. Okay. Round 12 is slip, slip, knit, knit 6, then knit 2 together. Repeat. And you probably notice it's getting harder to do because it's closing in that gap and basically my hands have no place to go. It's the only annoying thing about this particular pattern, but I like the effect, so I keep making that particular part of the pattern. Yeah. Slip, slip, knit, knit across 6, knit 2 together. There we go. Slip, slip. Now the yarn wants to get shrinky. Behave. Knit 2 together. Well, slip, slip, knit, knit across 6, then knit 2 together. Slip, slip, knit, wait a minute, 2, 4, I'm off by a stitch. Oh, I think I was supposed to be in stockinette stitch. Yeah. Two, 4, 6, 8. So did I double take that? I sure did. Okay. Subtract, subtract. Otherwise known as tink, 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 tink. Okay, now let's count. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, back on track. Look how that's going. Now, when you have mess ups like that in your notes, that's when you peek at the actual pattern to see what went wrong. Okay, that was row 12. And on row 13, knit across. And on row 14, it'll be 4. 15 is 2, and then 16 is 1. Oh, I did write that down wrong. Okay. So this will be row 13, knit. I'll just leave the book open. Two, 4, 6, 8. Okay. So do row 13 and I'll be right back on track. Oh yeah. And it's twisting because I had to remove that stitch, which reversed it. So we'll just go like that. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Excuse me. And if you're going to mess up on the back of the project, not the front where everybody sees. Alright. This is row 13. That means the last 3 stitches will be all increases. All decreases. I told you when you're going around, it goes quickly. You have to pay attention and put a marker there so you don't get mixed up. And then I almost got mixed up anyway. Which is why that marker is important. Yeah. Probably should put it up higher in the work so I can see where the marker actually is. But yeah, almost done now, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay. And then if you forget your markers right there, there's the seam of your work that tells you, okay, you're on this row. stringy on me now. Now, row 14, 15, and 16 is slip, slip, knit 4, knit 2, tie, repeat from star. Then row 15 is slip, slip, knit, knit 2, knit 2, tie. Row 16 is slip, slip, knit, knit 2 together, repeat from star. So basically these are the last 3 rows, last three rounds. Yeah, my mouth is saying, I'm rejecting, I'm rebelling. But you get what I mean. Okay. Knit 2 together. It's going to get difficult to control my hands because running out of real estate basically. So get your fingers in there wherever you need to. Knit 2 together. Come on. Here we go. Turn. See, the other needles are starting in my way now too. Slip, slip, knit, knit 4, knit 2 together, slip, slip, squeeze. Come on, get in there. Snug it close so that way there's no gap in your work. Knit 4, knit 2 together. So I hope I actually got the needle in between those two. There we go. Okay, at the start of round 14, my battery decided to say see ya, but this is what we have so far. Round 14 is slip, stitch, slip, slip 1, knit 4, knit 2 together. We're at round 14, no, we're at round 15, which is slip, slip, knit, knit 2, slip, slip, or knit 2 together, and then it'll be slip, slip, knit, knit 2 together, and we're done. So, yeah, let's get that going. Let me move my bow over here where it won't get in my way. I need my crochet hook. Hold on a second. It will be right behind me. Yeah. I'm on the corded headset, so couldn't really go very far. Okay, the crochet hook is going to be how I connect the, well, keep watching. And there is no more decrease, then knit a row, then decrease, then knit a row. These are all decrease. No foundation row in between. So you have 4 stitches left on the needle. And that's when it gets complicated for your hands, because there's literally no place for your fingers to go when you get to this point. But hang in there and make it happen. And at this point, that's when I usually get tempted to just go ahead and knit both stitches together on both ends. But yeah, that makes the pattern look a little different, and then you be fussing at yourself when you see what it could have looked like compared to how you did it, because you took a shortcut, if that makes sense. This is the only tough part when it comes to double pointed needles, is when you get to the end of the work and you're decreasing and there's no place for the knit to go, then it wants to stick into parts of the work and all of that, and yeah, that gets to be a little challenging. And then the string wants to get in the way, like, I want to be part of the fun too. Oh, slip, slip, knit. What are you doing, Kay? And at this point, you don't have to worry about getting the double pointeds in the center of the needles anymore, because there's plenty of room to, you know. And now we are at row 16. So row 16, last row, goes as follows. Slip, slip, knit, knit 2 together. Ah, come on now. which gives you 2 on the needle. Slip, slip, knit. Oh look, one of the strings decided it didn't want to go over that last stitch. So let me get that right there. Okay, knit 2 together. Just finding a place to get your fingers in there. Okay, 2 on the needle. Slip, slip, knit, knit 2 together. Come on, cooperate with me. There we go. Oh, I didn't get all of it. Okay. 2 left on the needle. Slip, slip, knit, knit 2 together. These 2 left on that needle. Slip, slip, knit 2 together. Two left on the final needle. Now we have this. Remove that last needle. Grab your crochet hook. I'm going to put these stitches, well, one needle, and I'm going to put these stitches on one needle. Okay. Now, coming from the opposite end, I'm going to feed these stitches into the crochet hook. Make sure I got all of them. fit on there. I won't be mad at you if you do. Well, let's just grab it with the hook and then turn it, and yeah, now it's on there. Now all 10 stitches are on the crochet hook like this. Grab a lot of it, hook it, slide it through. Might have to wiggle it through like this. And get it through there. Okay? Now, at this point, cut your string. Get the slack. Now it looks like this. You're going to take the crochet hook, find the end, gather all that up, wrap it around a couple of times if you feel you need to. Put it in the middle of the hole that's being left by the decreases. Pull that through. Okay? Now we're on the back of the work. Now the direction says take a tapestry needle and wrap it around twice. I don't do that. I do what you just saw me do. What I do is, anyway, I grab the size I find and the ending of it. I'm going to snug those till there's no opening. Then I'm going to tie a knot twice. And sometimes I do 3 times. And sometimes I just braid it like this. Because depending on how I did it, sometimes I wear this hat in reverse. So the braid gives it kind of a fun finishing look. But realistically, the reason I do that, say for instance there's a repair that needs to be made or whatever, this gives me enough yarn to do it. Because if I take the braider loose, I have enough that I could throw on a needle and sew it. If that makes sense. But today I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make a knot, snug it as close as possible, and I could actually cut it at that point. I think I will. And now we're finished. Oh, forgot my marker. And now you know why I'm fascinated with that finishing technique. Looks like a starfish. Now, because of the way I did the crochet, there's a little opening where it went in. Just take the needle and fluff it, and that disappears. Anyway, this has been P+7 on Blue Sky and YouTube. people elsewhere on the internet. My soaps located Purple Butterfly, soaps.myshopify.com. My blog, Purple Butterfly, people.blogspot.com. Yeah, and you could barely see where the start and finish is, except for if you look at the directions of the basket weave. But that's the back of the hat. This is the front of the hat, and as you can tell, it fits my big old dome of a head. So, give it a try. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that like button. Bye now.